In the early 1890s, when the United States was still shaping its identity on the global stage, the White House became home to President Nathaniel Rowen, a stern, disciplined leader admired for his iron principles. But behind the polished speeches and calm posture lay a private life full of shadows that would later threaten to consume his entire presidency. His wife, First Lady Eleanor Rowen, was beloved by the public. Newspapers admired her poise, her charitable work, and her almost angelic appearance. But inside the White House, Eleanor lived in a lonely world. Nathaniel was emotionally distant, consumed by long nights of political strategy, economic struggles, and foreign affairs. He rarely spoke to her except at formal dinners, and that loneliness became the doorway. One afternoon in 1892, Eleanor received a letter, unsigned, written in elegant handwriting. The words were poetic, tender, written by someone who knew precisely what she yearned to hear. Eleanor dismissed it at first until a second letter came, then a third. And each letter revealed something personal about her, something no stranger could know. There was only one man who matched the elegance, wit, and secret proximity to her life. Thomas Harlana, the young chief presidential secretary. He was always near, but never too near, always respectful, but his eyes carried something that most men dared not show the First Lady: admiration. Eleanor soon realized what the public never would. Her husband's most trusted aide had fallen deeply in love with her. At first, she resisted. She tore up the letters, avoided him in hallways, kept her head down during cabinet gatherings. But the more distant President Nathaniel became, the more Thomas's words filled the void. One night, she found placed quietly on her reading table a handwritten poem about the caged rose trapped in marble walls. It shook her. No one had ever understood her that deeply, and for the first time, she didn't destroy the letter, she kept it. She hid it beneath her pillow. That small act would eventually grow into the greatest scandal America had never known. But someone else in the White House had already seen the exchanged glances and was waiting to exploit them. The winter of 1893 brought heavy snow to Washington, but inside the White House, the air grew warmer, thicker with emotions neither Eleanor nor Thomas could control anymore. At first, their interactions were brief: a brush of hands while exchanging documents, stolen glances at ceremonial dinners, quiet moments in the conservatory, where they both conveniently arrived by accident. But soon it became impossible to hide. Thomas began leaving handwritten letters hidden in the pages of books she frequently read. Eleanor responded with small notes, nothing explicit, but enough to show she felt something too. Their love lived silently between lines of ink, a dangerous world of paper and longing. One evening during a severe storm, the White House staff had difficulty returning home. Eleanor, restless and unable to sleep, walked silently to the library. There she found Thomas, warming himself near the fireplace, reviewing papers he claimed were, quote, urgent for the president. They spoke for hours about their childhoods, fears, hopes, disappointments. For the first time in years, Eleanor felt seen. But fate was cruel. A maid named Margaret Doyle, known for gossiping among staff, passed by the slightly ajar library door. She didn't catch the conversation, but she saw enough. The First Lady sitting too close to the young secretary, their faces illuminated by firelight in a way no married woman should allow. Margaret said nothing, but she started watching. Over the next weeks, she observed every subtle detail: the way Thomas delivered documents only to Eleanor's hand, the quiet notes she tucked into her gloves, the rare, soft smile on her otherwise reserved face. Margaret realized she was witnessing the beginning of a scandal, and scandals, especially in the White House, were valuable. Too valuable to ignore. Meanwhile, Eleanor and Thomas's bond deepened. They remained careful, never touching, never speaking of love aloud, but their emotions had become undeniable. One evening, Thomas whispered, "If the world were different, I would give everything to be with you." Eleanor didn't respond with words, but her silence was an answer. What they didn't know was that Margaret, hiding behind a pillar, had heard every word, and she planned to use it. Rumors spread like infection in political buildings, quiet, invisible, unstoppable, and Margaret Doyle carried them with precision. At first, she tried subtle intimidation. She lingered too long when delivering tea, swept floors near Eleanor's private writing desk, and smiled knowingly whenever Thomas passed by. Eleanor sensed danger, but she couldn't prove anything. One morning, Eleanor found a sealed envelope on her dressing table. Inside was a copy of one of Thomas's letters. Her heart froze. A tiny note was attached. "I wonder what the president would think." It wasn't signed, but Eleanor knew immediately who sent it. That night, she confronted Margaret in a deserted hallway. "What do you want?" Eleanor whispered. Margaret smiled, her voice calm. "Respect and compensation for my silence." The First Lady realized she was being blackmailed. Margaret demanded money, far more than Eleanor could access without raising suspicion. Eleanor refused, but Margaret was prepared. She threatened to leak the letters to a journalist from the Washington Chronicle, a man hungry for political drama. When Eleanor told Thomas, he reacted with fury. "We can go to the president," Thomas suggested. But Eleanor shook her head. "He would not defend me. This would destroy you, Thomas." Because although Nathaniel Rowen was respected publicly, privately he was cold, harsh, and deeply intolerant of betrayal, especially from anyone close to him. Thomas suggested they burn every letter. Eleanor agreed. They gathered them secretly late at night behind the stables, far from the White House staff. As flames consumed their only proof of love, Eleanor wept silently. Thomas held her shoulders gently, still never crossing the line into impropriety, but close enough to show he cared. But Margaret was not defeated, because she still held the original letters, and she decided to go forward with her next move, exposing the First Lady's secret to the press, unless someone stopped her first. Margaret Doyle's greed pushed her too far. She contacted journalist Henry Caldwell, known for destroying political careers with a single headline. But Caldwell demanded proof. Proof Margaret couldn't release yet without risking her job. Meanwhile, Thomas noticed something alarming. The president had been watching him more closely. President Nathaniel Rowen was not a man of emotions, but he was a man of suspicion. He had noticed changes in his wife, the way she guarded her writing desk, how she avoided evening dinners, how her eyes darted away from Thomas whenever they crossed paths. Then, one evening, the president discovered a half-burned piece of parchment behind the stables, the remains of a letter. The handwriting was unmistakably Thomas's. The truth hit him with the force of a cannon shot. In a rage he had not shown in years, he confronted Eleanor in her private parlor. "This is betrayal," he said coldly. "Not only of me, but of this nation." Eleanor trembled, but did not deny it. She only said, "You left me alone. I needed someone." Nathaniel's pride fractured. The idea of his wife turning to another man, his own secretary, was unbearable. His fury became dangerous. He ordered his guards to arrest Thomas immediately. Eleanor threw herself in front of Thomas as guards seized him. "He has done nothing wrong," she cried. But the president was unmoved. Thomas was imprisoned in a basement room of the executive branch. No charges, no trial, only silence. The president planned to force a confession and then fire him publicly, humiliating him beyond repair. But Eleanor knew something the president did not. If Caldwell got the letters first, even the presidency could collapse. She had one chance to stop the scandal, one chance to save Thomas from destruction. She had to find Margaret Doyle before the journalist did. Eleanor found Margaret in the storage cellar sorting linens. The maid froze when she saw the First Lady approach with a determined, tear-stained face. "Where are the letters?" Eleanor demanded. Margaret clutched a small wooden box. "Safe, and worth more than you can imagine." Before Eleanor could plead further, heavy footsteps echoed down the stone hallway. President Rowen appeared, having followed his wife. Margaret's face went pale. She tried to run, but the president blocked her path. "What have you done?" he growled. Margaret, shaking, confessed everything: the blackmail, the journalist, the letters. Desperate, she begged the president for protection. But Nathaniel Rowen did not reward betrayal. He seized the box, opened it, and saw every intact letter Thomas had ever written. His jaw tightened. His pride demanded revenge, but his political mind saw the disaster such a scandal would unleash. So he made a decision that would haunt him forever. He burned the letters in front of Eleanor and Margaret, one by one, until nothing remained but ashes. Margaret was fired instantly, paid to disappear from Washington forever. Thomas, after 3 days in confinement, was released quietly. The president forbade him from ever speaking to Eleanor again and reassigned him to a distant diplomatic post. He left within a week, heartbroken, exiled, silenced. Eleanor never saw him again. The scandal was buried. No newspaper ever learned the truth. No record mentioned Thomas Harlan's name again. The scandal was buried. No newspaper ever learned the truth. No record mentioned Thomas Harlan's name again. But Eleanor kept one small piece of parchment hidden inside her jewelry box, a single surviving line Thomas once wrote: "If love must live in silence, then let silence be my devotion." She read it every night until the end of her days. And thus, the greatest scandal of the Rowen presidency became a ghost, whispered only by the walls of the White House.